Good evening. Welcome to News Now on TV 360. I am Thelma Okoro. Many people are feared dead after a bomb went off at the Sabongari market in Damboa local government of Borno State, northeast Nigeria. Officials in the country are yet to confirm the incident. There has been a resurgence in deadly attacks across the country in the past few weeks. All these attacks have been blamed on deadly Islamic sect Boko Haram. The militant group has killed thousands of people during its 6-year campaign to set up an Islamic state in northeastern Nigeria. Nigeria President Muhammadu Buhari and members of the National Peace Committee for the 2015 general elections met on Tuesday at the presidential villa in the country's capital city. The group, led by former head of state, retired General Abdulsalami Abubakar, discussed how to sustain the peace and unity in Nigeria. Ahead of the March 28th presidential elections, President Buhari and former President Goodluck Jonathan signed a peace agreement at the request of the Peace Committee. One of the members of the Peace Committee had this to say about the meeting.
We came led by our chairman, members of the National Peace Committee, which, as you know, was set up to ensure free and fair elections. Happily, the results of the elections are a thing of the past. We now know those elections were very successful. And we've come here just to have further conversations with the president to get a bit of updates about the relevance of the Peace Committee itself and how we can help to nurture what God has given to us.
There are reports that the former president ran to your committee to intervene one way or the other. Was this part of the discussion too?
Anybody is free to come to our committee, but President Jonathan never, by telephone or by any other means, sought to see the committee. We went to see him, but that was after we had already seen members of the political parties. We saw a few members of civil society. We planned to see the speaker because we couldn't see him yesterday. So this was a very planned series of intervention, essentially just to hear out everybody. And I think that the good news is that Nigerians are committed to a new nation. They were committed to ensuring that the gains and the blessings God has given us, come to fruition. So it was a very wonderful conversation that we had.
Why has it become necessary for you to begin to intervene now? Is it that...
this is not an intervention. No, we did not intervene. This is not an intervention. It's more a hearing out process. This is what we had in the elections. It's like a wedding. You know, the reality of governance is now the marriage. And people need to be encouraged. And we need to reaffirm, that this is our country. The only thing we can all collectively be opposed to is injustice, iniquity, corruption. And in that regard, we all have one single conversation. So it's not, this committee, and happily the president also has reaffirmed the need for this committee to continue. The international community has very much welcomed the contributions of the committee. So essentially we are not policing, we are simply just, when the need arises, help to build confidence in the system and help to build confidence in the process.
One of the needs that has arisen is the stance of this administration on corruption. Is there any way it is heating up the polity that is making your committee?
No, I don't think it's heating up the polity. I think even in our conversation with President Jonathan, in our conversation with the members of the parties, I don't think any Nigerian is against, is in favor of corruption or is against the president's commitment to ensuring that we turn a new page. I think what we're concerned about genuinely is process. This is a democracy. It's no longer a military regime, and that under our existing laws, everybody is innocent until he's proven guilty. So again, our commitment, as I said, is not to intimidate or to frighten anybody. The president, the former president's commitment and what he did still remains spectacular. I think that President Buhari himself and everybody else appreciates that. So our effort really is to make sure that the right thing is done. Okay.
Meanwhile, at the same meeting, President Buhari said his administration was committed in doing all within its powers to tackle corruption, unemployment and insecurity in Nigeria. He added that the prosecution of some persons who stole public funds in the past administration will begin in a matter of weeks. Still on President Buhari's corruption and war against corruption, the president has appointed a 7-man anti-corruption advisory committee as part of his latest efforts to crack down on corruption. The committee will be headed by Professor Ishe Sage, a prominent lawyer and civil rights activist. Presidential spokesperson Femi Adesina said this in a statement. According to Adesina, the committee's duty would be advising the current administration on the prosecution of the war against corruption and implementation of required reforms in Nigeria's criminal justice system. The 7-man committee comprises mostly of academics. Those in the committee include Professor Femi Odekunle from Ahmadu Bello University, Dr. Benedicta Daudu from the University of Jos, Professor E. Alemika from the University of Jos too, then Professor Sadiq Rada from the Bayero University in Kano, and Hadiza Bala Usman, a civil society activist. Nigeria's Labour Congress says it will submit a fresh proposal to review the minimum wage for workers in the country. The NLC has said the 18,000 minimum wage for workers is no longer tenable owing to the dwindling value of the naira and the existing economic realities in the country. In a statement on Monday, the union's leadership said the review of the minimum wage was overdue since the Minimum Wage Act of 2011 has exceeded its statutory 5-year review period. NLC President Ayuba Waba in the communique said the proposal shall upon completion be submitted before the federal government. The NLC expressed optimism that the negotiations would be completed in time for the new minimum wage to be reflected in the 2016 national and state budgets. The Nigerian Immigration Service says it has prevented dozens of Nigerians from leaving the shores of the country in a bid to join international terrorist groups. There have been reports in recent times of some Nigerians departing to join terrorist sects, especially in the Middle East and North Africa, including children of serving and retired top officials. The service on Tuesday said it continued to be stringent in scrutinizing those intending to travel out to prevent young Nigerians from being lured into terrorism, prostitution, slavery, and other activities abroad by unscrupulous individuals. The Immigration Service said in the 15 months period from January 2014 to March 2015, it has disbarred a total of 23,472 individuals from traveling out of the country from the various departure points in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered government agencies to harmonize the collection and usage of biometric data in the country instead of replicating their efforts in this regard. He gave the directive after a briefing on the activities of the National Population Commission from the chairman, Ezeduru Ihioma, who led other national commissioners to the presidential villa in Abuja on Monday. A statement issued by the presidency said President Buhari wondered why each agency would gather its own biometric data when such data could easily be shared. Government organizations that currently collect biometric data include the National Population Commission, National Identity Management Commission, Federal Road Safety Commission, the Independent National Electoral Commission, among others. Nigeria's ruling party, the All Progressives Congress (APC), has commended the steps taken by President Muhammadu Buhari to fast-track the environmental cleanup of Ogoni land. Speaking at a news briefing in Lagos on Tuesday, Lai Mohammed, the National Publicity Secretary of APC, said the step was undoubtedly one of the most significant decisions taken by the president since he assumed office.
President Muhammadu Buhari's approval on August 5, 2015, of actions to fast-track the environmental cleanup of Ogoni land is undoubtedly one of the most significant decisions taken by the president since his inauguration on May 29, 2015. This action of the president transcends all the needless arguments about the appointments so far made by him, because this action touches directly on the well-being of a long-suffering people whose farmlands, drinking water, homes, and sources of living have been deeply affected by the hydrocarbon pollution. Even if all the appointments made so far by the president have gone to Niger Delta, that would not have been as momentous as the president's approval of actions to fast-track the environmental cleanup of Ogoni land, a 1,000 square kilometer area that has been the site of oil exploration and production since the 1950s, and which has suffered pollution from oil spills and oil well fires. The President's action has now breathed life into a 4-year report by United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, which hitherto has been gathering dust on the shelf since it was published on the 4th of August 2011. The environmental assessment of Ogoniland was commissioned by the federal government, which invited UNEP to undertake the assessment. The 2-year assessment was carried out by national and international experts assembled by UNEP against the background of the fact that there are serious threats to human health from contaminated drinking water to concerns over the viability and productivity of the ecosystem. The report revealed the nature and extent of oil contamination in Ogoniland and covered the following areas, among others: contaminated land, contaminated groundwater, contaminated surface water, air pollution, and public health. It is important to note that despite the urgency stated in the UNEP report on the need to implement the recommendations, the immediate past government did nothing beyond establishing the hydrocarbon pollution restoration project in 2012, a full year after the report was submitted, and then leaving the agency to rot away. A new implementation template has also been evolved at the instance of President Buhari, and the environmental cleanup of Ogoniland will commence in earnest with the President's inauguration of the High Rep Governing Council and the Board of Trustees for the Trust Fund.
The World Health Organization, WHO, has urged Nigeria to strengthen its routine immunization in the northeast to avoid a resurgence of polio cases before the country attains a polio-free status in 2017. WHO Director on Polio Eradication, Hamid Jafari, said this at a meeting to review strategies towards eradicating polio in Nigeria. Just last month, Nigeria marked 1 year of polio interruption, raising hope that it would soon be removed from the list of endemic countries by WHO. Nigeria, Pakistan, and Afghanistan are the 3 countries that have not been certified polio-free by WHO. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll look at more news stories. Don't go away.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digi 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Welcome back. You're watching News Now on TV 360. To business stories now. OPEC on Tuesday raised its forecast of oil supplies from non-member countries in 2015. This has been viewed as a sign that oil's price collapse is taking longer to impact on shale and other competing sources than previously thought. In a monthly report, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, said it expected no extra demand for its crude oil this year, despite faster global growth in consumption because of higher than expected production from the United States and other countries outside the group. The report also showed that OPEC members continue to boost supplies. Since last year, OPEC has refused to cut its global output despite the collapse in oil prices across the globe. President of the Republic of Congo, Denis Sassou Nguesso, has sacked 2 ministers after they opposed his intention to run for a 3rd term in office. Civil Service Minister Guy Brice Parfait Kolelas and Trade Minister Claudine Munari were both against constitutional changes that would have paved way for President Nguesso to remain in office. Their removal was announced late on Monday. However, no official reasons were given. Nguesso, who is 71 years old, has ruled Congo for 31 years in 2 separate spells in office. He is banned by the current constitution from seeking another term in office. Police clashed with hundreds of protesters in Ferguson, Missouri early on Tuesday. The protesters were participating in events marking the anniversary of the killing of unarmed black teenager Michael Brown by a policeman. Authorities declared a state of emergency on Monday for the St. Louis suburb and surrounding areas following the violence in the region. Michael Brown's shooting sparked a national outcry over strained race relations and triggered a wave of demonstrations over the use of excessive force by police officers. The 18-year-old was shot in August 2014 by white police officer Darren Wilson, who was later cleared of any wrongdoing. To sports stories now, the Nigerian Football Federation, NFF, has announced that the Super Eagles will play a friendly match against the Republic of Niger on September 8th. The match is expected to be an opportunity for new Super Eagles coach Sunday Olise to inspect the players and keep them fit for their upcoming African Cup of Nations qualifiers. It will be played in Port Harcourt. Before the friendly match, the Super Eagles are expected to play an African Cup of Nations qualifier against Tanzania on September 5th. The International Association of Athletics Federation, IAAF, has suspended 28 athletes after retested samples from the 2005 and 2007 World Championships provided adverse findings. The IAAF, in its statement, did not name any of the 28 athletes involved, but confirmed that none of them will be participating in this month's World Championships slated to hold in Beijing. The IAAF's action comes after allegations by Sporting Times that 5,000 athletes belonging to the federation were involved in an extraordinary extent of cheating. IOC President Thomas Bach has already warned that the organization will have zero tolerance to anyone found guilty of doping. We've come to the end of news now. We thank you very much for joining us. I am Thelma Okoro.